I was having some success and, but I realized that the thing that I enjoyed was looking at the financials and deciding when to hire and how am I going to market. And my dad had always said growing up, like, Sonny, like business is business. Like it really doesn't matter what you're doing. And I mean, I think now that I'm into it, like I would argue that like our business is the best business. The building industry is the best. But yeah, I just, all of a sudden having my own experience that finally clicked for me.
Today on the podcast, we had Sonny Bowman from Dakota County Lumber in, and we just had an awesome podcast episode, really talking a lot about culture fit, setting your core values. And Sonny really talked about if you're going to scale your company and grow it, how dedicating time to your people and inspiring them really is the pathway forward for any company, regardless of your size. So if you're looking to scale your company, if you're looking to understand how culture can really trump strategy, you're going to want to listen to this episode. Without further ado, here's Sonny Bowman. Welcome to the Curious Builder Podcast. I'm Mark Williams, your host. Today I'm joined with Sonny Bowman from Dakota County Lumber out of Minnesota. Welcome, Sonny.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And you came on a sunny day, pun intended.
I sure did. It's beautiful out.
You must get really annoyed with dad jokes like me that always, basically make a fun way to comment on your name. Like, how often do you meet someone and someone's like, make some sort of sunny joke?
I would say 99% of the time.
99.
Yeah, I'm pretty immune to it at this point. It's fine.
What are some good ones you heard over the years?
So the ones that I don't love are like the Sonny and Cher jokes, because that's spelled S-O and I'm S-U and I get like kind of whatever.
I don't even know what a Sonny and Cher joke is. I mean, I know who they are,
right,
artists,
yeah,
but what's the joke?
I don't know. Like, it's where Cher, like, oh, I thought you skied into a tree. Like, it's not good. Like, they're not good. But anyway, so there's a whole bunch of those. I also get like, oh, like I thought you were in charge of the weather and that sort of thing. But I'm a second generation Sonny. My aunt is actually named Sonny, so I just always.
So you've weathered the storms before.
Yes, yeah. And the best thing is, like, growing up, I was little Sonny and she was big Sonny. And I've been larger than her for a long time. Like, I'm a very tall person and she's still big Sonny and it bugs her and it's the best. So,
well, for those that don't know who you are, why don't you do a brief intro of the company that you own, and let's talk a little bit how you got into it. I have a ton of questions for you, and people locally in Minnesota, you'd be hiding under a rock if they didn't know who Sonny is. So this is for people probably outside the state, but why don't we give a brief intro of who you are?
Yeah. So I am Sonny Bowman. I am the president and owner of Dakota County Lumber Company. We're a second generation, that's me, second generation building materials dealer on the south side of the Minneapolis-St. Paul metro area. So we're a single location. We do about $30-ish million in revenue, which makes us pretty big for an independent lumber yard, but a lot smaller than the big players. So we're in kind of a class of our own here in the market. And yeah, Dakota County Lumber is just been going for 40 years at this point. We just celebrated our 40th anniversary, and we sell to professional contractors like yourself, luxury builders, that kind of thing. And we're really hang our hat on our service, and we go to market on this thing that we call the perfect delivery, which is just that we get you what you want when you want it and we don't screw up. Sounds like a low bar, actually is a really high bar in the industry, and we do it really well.
That's amazing. I think probably what I imagine one of the secrets is the fact that you are smaller and more nimble. You're able to essentially execute quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think that we have enough size to be super competitive, but we're small enough that we can make adjustments. We can still treat our contractors like the individual that we are. And we have a really deep customer focus. So we understand our customers aren't afraid to tailor something to just one builder and kind of make adjustments as we need to for them. And we really partner with our builders. I think a lot of people say that we do. And again, we just actually do it. Will be a big theme today, just kind of doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny. I'm a third generation builder. And I remember asking, before I became a builder, I remember asking my parents, who are builders and designers, like, what makes you successful? Thinking that they would have some epiphany or some amazing, quote, right, that you'd see in a quote book. And I remember my dad was like, open doors for women and old ladies. And, say please and thank yous. And I'm like, dang, the bar is super low here, people. And they're like, oh, and call people back when they call you. Like, that was your top three things? Like, yeah, that's your top three things. Yeah. And it's amazing that even today, how often just being polite, being courteous, being thoughtful, saying please and thank you.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's like, I don't know. I think just trying to be a good human, and then how do you incorporate that company culture as well?
Yeah. The amazing thing is that, like, not that many people have the discipline to do that consistently day in and day out. So, be a good human is actually like one of our company values. And I used to say all the time when I was interviewing people, like, if you're a hard worker and you're a good person, you're going to do fine here. Like, that's all we ask of you, all we need. Now we have this list of 6 core values that we hire off of. But when it comes down to it, business is really simple. It's doing what you said you were going to do, it's being the same person behind the scenes that you are out in front of the scenes, being the same person in the office that you are when you're out on the job site in front of the customer. And as long as you can have that character consistency, I think that you'll survive,
W-
hopefully.
Why do you think that vision statement and values, why do you think that's important? And how have you proven it to be important since you've sort of implemented them?
Yeah. So we've actually been on a journey. I don't know if we've talked about this offline, Mark, but so we run on a system called EOS, which is based off of the Traction book, not because it's any magic system for running your business that is wiser than anything else, but because having like it for me, it's like pushing the easy button on running your business where it tells you, okay, you're communicating with your employees at this pace, at this rate, you're getting together weekly as your teams and all of that kind of stuff. And we then through EOS, we have our vision traction organizer. So we have our vision and our mission and our 10-year target, our 3-year plan, our 1-year goals, our 90-day goals. And I think it's so important to make sure that everybody's rowing in the same direction in your business. We were able to do it. I was able to do it just kind of based on white knuckling it and gut feel for a long time. And when we hit, the 35, 40 employee mark, it just got a little bit harder. Like I felt the wheels wobbling a little bit from a communication standpoint. I couldn't individually communicate, this is our goal, this is our vision, this is where we're going to everybody and make sure that they were aligned and on the same page. And when you're super focused on your customer and all of your customers getting that top level experience, everybody on your team needs to be aligned from the person that's building the load out in the yard for us, all the way through the person that's going to take payment and process returns. Like everybody needs to know what the customer wants and what we're trying to provide. And communicating that just got a little bit harder. So having everybody aligned with the vision and talking about it really often became pretty important for us. So we use the traction system to do that. We have quarterly state of the company meetings where everybody comes together and they hear straight from me. This is where we're going. This is where we're heading. We have weekly meetings. We have quarterly check ins with your managers. We have all of that kind of stuff just so that we can make sure that everybody's staying on the same page and that our customers are getting what we want. And it really helps with buy-in. Like we've been trying to grow and we have been growing and have big plans to continue to grow. And I, as the owner of the business, of course, have so much ambition around this is where we're going, this is what we want to do. But to expect that every single person that works for me is bought in at that same level just by, existing and being a part of the business would be sort of naive. And so I have to kind of light that fire under everybody, and having our vision written out really helps.
And I've never thought about this before. I mean, a classic owner,
Mhm.
myself included, is we have big ideas. We have lots of ideas. Sometimes, I just recently did on the way out to Vegas at IBS, I did my vision statement for the next, well, 1, 5, 10, and 20 years for the
Mhm.
Curious Builder brand, as well as Mark Williams Custom Homes. And it was really therapeutic to like get out of my head and write it down. Cause I think a lot of owners just have it up there,
Mhm.
but I think there's a lot of purpose in not only writing it down for trackability, but also expressing it to your team. And I guess where my question is, if we have a small team, you have a much bigger, you said 60 people?
No, we're still about 40, 45.
45
Yeah.
people. Each person is sort of motivated by different things to a large degree.
Mhm.
Have you found, because how long have you been the owner and the president now?
So I have been effectively running the business for 12 years. I have been the owner since late 2018. Yeah,
Okay,
owner
so
president.
well over a decade. So
Mhm.
where I'm going with this is everyone has, I think we want to meet people where they're at to some degree. Hey, Mike wants this in his life. But it's a lot to remember. If you have 35 goals of 35 other people to know what drives them, I'm not saying people shouldn't. I'm just saying that's a big, big thing. Or do you have a company goal
Mhm.
and everyone sort of buys into one goal? So then you only really have one goal you have to sort of
Mhm.
track. What would your comment be on that?
Yeah, I think that having a company goal and hiring based off of that is super important. So we end up being able to hire people. We sort of sell them on the vision in their interview. And if they're bought into like, hey, this is the plan that I'm laying out in front of you, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. It's going to be hard. I'm going to ask more of you than my competitor down the road. You're going to have to read books after you're hired. There's just all kinds of stuff that I ask you to do that maybe somebody else wouldn't, but with the ultimate goal of, hey, this is where we're going. Do you want to be a part of something? I think it creates buy-in. There are statistics about, Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming up, and even some young millennials like really, really
Like
valuing.
we're starting over.
Oh,
We're now at alpha.
I'm an old, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's gonna be Gen Alpha. No, we're not Gen Alpha. It's starting over again. I think they're gonna come up with a different term for it,
It's
but they
like
haven't figured out
it's
what
like
it is.
hurricanes, right?
Yeah.
Or tornadoes. Like
Yes, they
it's like
have
they
to
just
start
name it
over
after,
every year.
it just every year just keeps going up and down.
There's never been a Hurricane Sunny. So back to the call
Well,
back to the start of the podcast. At least I have that going
you
for
got
me.
that going for you.
Yes. Actually, I don't know if I've historically checked that, but yes. So the younger generations, they want meaningful work, right? They want to find meaning in their work. And so having that vision and hiring based off of that and getting them to buy into the company vision, I think is helpful. We still do check in with them because it was a ways into running the business when I realized that not everybody was just like straight motivated by money. Shocking, like just absolutely shocking to my personality.
Isn't it weird that like I think I've recently looked at this a couple months ago. I think like money is like fourth or fifth on the list
Yes.
of why people either go or even why people leave. I'm not saying it's not important. It is. We just had someone on the podcast recently, Sam and Andrew Teat. They're builders out of the Bell Point Company out of Ohio. And something that was really interesting on their website, this is probably more uncommon for builders. Maybe it's more common for the field that you're in or the ownership that you're in, but they like a job posting. They put right on there, marketing manager, 57,000 to 75,000. The person that was helping them hire people was like, money is very important to people, but that's not the reason why you want to hire someone. You want to hire them for their skills and what they mean to you and their company culture fit. But obviously money has to be addressed at some point. So why not put out the thing that's uncomfortable, put it right on the front page?
Yep.
And I just was like, man, I've never seen that before, especially among builders and remodelers. I thought it was really refreshing. Anyway, going back to your story is how people, especially because it seems like you have a very young company, which actually I just see the energy. I actually say I feel the energy. Like when you show up into a room, not only you yourself, but your kind of entourage of your team, it feels like the mood changes. Like, hey, the cool kids are here.
Hey, never been a cool kid in my life,
right?
But here we are.
Yeah, cool lumber kids.
Yeah.
But where I'm going with this is, how often are people reaching out to you and saying, we'd like to work for your company. We see the energy and the support that you bring to the community. Where is that in the narrative of how people are coming to you?
Yeah, it happens actually pretty frequently, and we've been working on it. It's been a stated goal for us for the last 3 years is that we know that we are trying to grow. We're trying to, double in size in the next few years. We're trying to and keep our character. Very important to me. That's the thing that keeps me up at night is keeping our character while we grow. But we're going to need to have twice as many employees as we have to do that revenue, a little bit less, hopefully with some efficiency gains. And we want to be a destination workplace. And so we work on it through our marketing. We work on it through, referrals within our own employee base and that kind of thing. And we do get people that come and they say, hey, like we see what we're doing. And that didn't used to happen. Like Mark, when I took over in 2012, we were your local small town lumberyard that had a reputation among the people that knew us for doing a really great job. My dad built an incredible business, and also people in Farmington knew about us, which is, south edge of the metro. Like people south of the river knew about us, but nobody in the broader market really knew who we were. We were respected in the vendor community, but beyond that, like there wasn't a whole lot of name recognition. And we've really had to build to the point where now, when somebody calls, if we have a recruiter call for, a sales job, or if we are, taking applicants in, like they'll say, hey, and we even had a truck driver applicant the other day that said, hey, like I've seen what you're doing in the market. I want to be a part of this company, which is incredible. And it was a long road to see that sort of pan out. But
were they, out of curiosity, was that particular truck driver in the industry?
No, they were from outside the industry. They were in our community. So we market to our local community and like kind of the surrounding areas when we're talking about, employment for our frontline employees because the commute is always interesting. So it was somebody that had seen the way that we support our community and really enjoyed that, the way that we talk about supporting local sports and causes and the open door food shelf and all of that kind of stuff. But some people will come from other companies and then they see what we do on the market.
I want to go back at some point and talk a little bit about your dad's company and
Mm,
you growing up, but we'll pin that for now. I'll come back to that because I want to ask you, my first sort of seeing Sunny on the radar was just seeing you consistently showing up for other people.
yeah.
And it was at, you're very involved with Minnesota Housing First. I see you at all the tours, and a lot of people do, but I feel like it's somewhat unexpected for the owner of a lumber yard because there's a lot of stereotypes that would probably follow the owner of a lumber yard.
Mhm.
And right or wrong, that, like any business has stereotypes, builders have stereotypes. I mean, I actively try to combat several of them, right?
Right.
We won't go into it right now, but like wellness and all those types of things is not typically what you associate with our industry.
Mm,
Um, I love the fact that we have a women-led owner in as of owner of a lumber yard,
yeah.
which again, there's a number of stereotypes here that we're sort of shattering.
Mm.
What was one of your driving factors? Did you realize looking around that your peers were older, multi-generational men? And if you were going to kind of break out of this mold and take your company to a new level, you had to basically operate on a different kind of playbook, or is that just your natural personality or a little bit of both? Like, I just feel like I see you everywhere
Yeah.
all the time and you're only one person. I don't think you have a twin.
No, I don't. I wish I did
That would
sometimes.
be
So just like
helpful.
a clone would be really
So
nice.
it's a pretty big question, but for 12 years now, I guess I can't pick the exact date, but let's just say
Mhm.
probably about 4 years ago is kind of when I started noticing you on a regular basis, kind of like everywhere. And then exponentially over the last 24 months.
Mm,
That's just my observation. I'm just one builder in the
sure.
community. How would you react to that sort of observation in your own journey?
Yeah, I'm very strategic. And so it has been strategy. And there's this great quote, and I mean it's just kind of a concept in business, but that self-promotion isn't bragging, it's strategic when you own a business. And it's taken me a while to like feel comfortable with that and step into that, but we've been seeing it pay off. So I would say when I first started running the business, there was a lot that I needed to do to just kind of get my arms wrapped around it, get our own house in order. I was upping the level of professionalism, taking that hometown yard, making sure we kept our stripes, who we were, what we were known for, that customer focused feel, and then leveling up a little bit and being able to be known in the market as somebody a little bit more professional and that could play with the big guys. I did look around and see that, hey, my competition is run. I was unique generationally. I mean, there are many multi generational lumber yards across the country. I was one of the first ones in, I would say, my generation because I started running the business at 25, which is very young. And especially when everybody that works for you is a man that's like twice your age. It was a fun adventure. They're all lovely and it's been wonderful. But yeah, so I looked around and I kind of realized I had some runway. Our competitors in the market know who I am now. And they were aware of my dad's business, but I don't think they were real concerned about losing business to us or anything like that. And they were at a different point in their career where maybe they had that youthful energy a couple of decades before and had really gotten in there and made some changes. But I wasn't seeing that happening in the businesses around me. We were coming off the Great Recession and people were trying to figure out how to sell to builders post Great Recession, and things seem to be on autopilot. There have been a lot of people that have been consolidated and bought by private equity because of maybe a lack of an exit strategy, or maybe that always was the exit strategy. It was like, okay, the next generation doesn't want to come in. So I saw some runway and I took it honestly. And so started, getting involved in Housing First Minnesota has been a wonderful vehicle for us, and the Housing First Minnesota Foundation, which does incredible work to combat homelessness. I didn't have marketing dollars that I could spend there, but I knew that I could contribute my time and my talents. And so just started showing up and saying like, "Hey, how can I help?" And, one opportunity led to the next, led to the next. And pretty soon I'm on boards and leading committees, and honestly had some like wonderful supportive men in the industry that sort of pushed me forward into some of these roles because they saw my energy and my fire and said, she could really help. And when I started showing up in these ways, more opportunities would come. We got some press. I was on like the front page of the one of the local newspapers, like mid-pandemic, like me just like standing there in front of stacks of lumber, like giving quotes about like lumber pricing. It was wild, like just stuff like that. And part of it is like I look different than other people in the industry. And so it's a fun story. It's a good angle. And at first, I grudgingly would accept the press. And then I realized, like, hey, this is actually really good for our business. I'm going to lean into this a little bit.
This episode is brought to you by Pella Northland. For 20 years, I've been using Pella windows, and I couldn't be happier to call them as a business partner, a trade partner, and someone that really supports us in our quality builds. We use wood windows and doors on every single one of our homes, and 98% of every home that I've ever built has been a Pella window. I've gotten to know their team here locally as well as nationally, and the way that they support us as a craftsman, as well as they support our homeowners with their lifelong guarantee, has actually been a game changer for me. So when people ask me who I use, I recommend Pella. If you want to hear more about Pella's story, you can listen to episode 1, where I interview Peter and Ed from Pella Northland about their journey into the Pella ownership.
The whole company, we've had to, again, rally around that idea that like self-promotion isn't bragging, it's strategy, because we are very like head down, do what you say you're going to do sort of people. And getting all of my crew to allow us to highlight the good things that they do and understand that that's going to push us forward and it's best for all of us if we actually talk about what we do well has been a bit of a challenge, but they've started, like, again, they've seen the benefits of it and it's working.
I think I think sometimes it's hard to define what leadership is, but I think it's pretty easy to identify leadership. I don't think anyone would mistake that you're the leader of Dakota County Lumber. It's interesting though. Have you found that because you obviously are the face of the company, and I know you and a handful of others, but I mean mainly you're so far out in front and promoting the company and your brand. How do you balance where everyone wants your time? Like any owner of a company, especially you're much bigger than, let's say, my company is. But I find that as companies scale, including your clients, which I guess in this case I would be one of your clients too, right, as a builder, but everyone sort of wants you. And it's not that we don't depend on our teams. Honestly, every builder, any business has the same issue to a variety of degrees. I'm being recommended right now for a rather large project because compared to my competitors, I'm viewed as, well, Mark will be there all the time.
Yeah.
And obviously I'll sell to that because it's a great way to sell, of course. But the truth is I have a team of very talented 5 people. Like my PM knows way more about actual structural construction than I do. And I depend on Mike. He's awesome. What we sell and what we are, I'm not saying it's different, but it means different things to different people. And I guess where this terrible question is going, trying to frame it, is how much of your time people just want you versus your team, and how have you balanced that? Because you want to grow and you want to double. I assume it's going to continue to be an even bigger issue.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I have young kids. I, like to actually spend time with my husband because I married him, because we like each other and that sort of thing. So, you're balancing a whole bunch of other things as well. I think there's a couple of things. One is, so one of our company values is do whatever it takes. Sorry, EOS. I'm just going to throw our values at you all the time.
Yeah.
And when I explain that to our new hires coming in, or reiterate it and, like give kudos around it and that sort of thing at the office, it's not that I want everybody just killing themselves all the time, doing whatever it takes for the customer 100% of the time. It's about applying like the right amount of pressure at the right moment, right? And so that's sort of how I view myself, as well as like my team knows when they need to put me in, when it would be impactful to have me in a customer meeting, when it would be impactful for me to take the phone call and talk to the person directly as opposed to them handling it. Like I think because they understand the feel that we're going for at the yard, that it needs to still feel small and accessible, and that's part of our brand. They use me in the moments where they need to. And then the second thing is I've been working with a leadership coach. I think if anybody out there doesn't have a leadership coach, like it's a wonderful investment, just especially as an owner, an entrepreneur, as a person at the top that isn't really, I mean, you're accountable to everybody, but you're also accountable to no one at the same time. To have that person that you are sort of accountable to is really helpful. And this leadership coach has been talking with me about, okay, like what are the things that only you can do? Being a little bit more strategic about where I spend my time, what committees I'm on, what boards I join, all of that kind of stuff. And I have, where earlier in my career, I might have headed up any committee that I was asked to. Now it's okay, like, no, I'm going to save time for a board seat, or I think that I could be more impactful here. I used to help plan like the Housing First Foundation Gala. I did that for a few years, chaired that committee. And then it was time for me to move into a different role. And I hand selected an awesome person to step into that chair role and let them shine and have their moment. And she has since done that for the next person. And the gala has just continued to grow and expand. It's going to be the biggest one yet this year. You allow other people to step up as needed, but are still present and available. If they need me at the gala, they can put me in. If they need to call me and get a sponsor, like that's the kind of thing that I try to do. So it's just being really strategic while also being aware of what the customer expectation is, I think.
I mean, I like the answer. I mean, I think in a way to simplify the answer, it's really leadership is the answer, because by empowering other people, you essentially empower your brand and your story to be bigger than yourself. And I think it involves trust, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
you have to let go.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I've been on this journey of going from, I don't know if it's a great analogy, but being a player's coach to being a coach's coach, right? Like from being that person that's going to get in there and grind and set the tone, and this is how we show up, to being okay with not being the one that's in there grinding and still asking my team to do it for me. And it's been really hard as somebody that was always like captain of the team that like set the tone and that sort of thing. It's been a different level of leadership, but and it's scary because you're worried that people aren't going to do it the way that you would. And also there's like a perception for me that it's like, well, I don't ever want to be seen as that absent owner that's checked out, that's letting, oh, I've got people for that. But also, if I want to drive the business forward and make sure that I'm keeping my head clear for seeing around corners and knowing what's coming in the market and handling those big relationships, like there are some things that I have to let go of, and I have to trust the good people on our team. And we have just incredible people that have stepped up.
And that's actually something I wanted to talk about, was just how we already mentioned, like when you walk into a room, I call it your entourage.
Yeah.
Just like, Dakota County is here.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about, I think it's called the cohort program. Is that right?
Yeah. We have our leadership cohort.
Yeah, it's really intriguing. I was reading a little bit about it on your website, but tell us a little bit more about that. What inspired it and where you find it? How is it working?
Yeah. So we have this thing at Dakota County Lumber. We call it the DCL Leadership Cohort, and it's for our young and rising leaders. So sort of anybody at the company, no matter the position that you're in at the time, that we see has potential, leadership potential. Like you can self-nominate, you can be nominated by a manager. We pick the group to keep it tight and then run a cohort every year. We've only been doing it for the last 2 years now, or we're in the second year, so a year and a half. So we'll see how it evolves over time. But it was just born out of honestly being a small business. And if you work for one of my competitors that's run by a big corporation, for example, they've got a corporate ladder for you to climb. They have defined career paths, they have these pay levels and all of that kind of stuff. And as a small business, we don't always have that. It's like, okay, if we grow, more positions will be available. I don't know exactly what order they're going to come in, like how like I can't give you the same thing that corporate America can give you in terms of a career path. So what we wanted to be doing was making sure that we were developing people so that when the time was right and we were ready, all of a sudden we're like, hey, we need this position. We would have somebody ready kind of on the bench waiting. And again, one of our core values is leave it better than
Your EOS coach right now,
Yes,
just like silently clapping.
she's so happy. So one of our core values is leave it better than you found it. And that we say relates to people as well as, places and things. Like it's not just like straightening up the paper towels in the bathroom, like it's making sure that everyone that interacts with somebody on our team is better for having done that. We think that way about our employees as well. And the cohort is a way to kind of leave them better than we found them. We know that some of them might take these skills that we're giving them and move on and find a different career path. And that's okay. We just hope that they're better off for having interacted with us. So we've been teaching.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing. It's like you've got your own AAA farm team for baseball within the company.
Yes.
How often do you see people within the industry migrate to you? And how often are you seeing people within your company leave?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. We're a small business and we've been in growth mode. So we've been acquiring more than we've been having move on. Generally if somebody doesn't work at our company anymore, it's because there wasn't core values alignment. We'll have hired them and thought that there was, and then find that they're not. Sometimes there's a different pay opportunity or something like that, but very rarely does somebody leave on not great terms. We have brought in a lot of people from, like I said, there's been a lot of kind of acquisition in the building materials industry and corporate roll ups and that sort of thing. And we've brought on a lot of people who maybe stayed through that and gave it a good try. And then a couple of years in, when the big company that owned them started acting like a big company, they were like, yeah, I started working here when it was a small business. I'd
Right.
like to go back to that
It's
environment.
funny. Our recent hire, we have a project coordinator that just started, and I call her a unicorn because her name's Angie, but she worked for a semi-production builder.
Mm,
And I think when they started, they were much smaller. And my controller, Joel, they actually worked together 5, 6 years ago. And he had mentioned, hey, I'm working with this young company. They've got a lot of interesting things going on.
mm.
Why don't you come back to what it used to be like? And so it's kind of this interesting model where when you are young and you have lots of energy, or I don't feel like I'm that young anymore at 21 years in the
You have
business,
lots of energy
but
though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we got lots of energy. But I guess my point is like when I think when people feel like they can make a difference and make a change,
Mm,
that is something very appealing about a smaller company.
mhm.
I think, at least for my own pitfall, I feel like I would benefit greatly from like an EOS system.
Mhm.
And I'd be curious to talk later about how small can it go? Does it have to be a certain size before it can scale up? To have a leadership team, it's what am I going to tell? Have a leadership team of what, one other person, or
Yeah.
like the mirror? Like who? It's like it's either the whole company's the leadership team or no one is. And it's
Yeah.
like at some point you have to hit a bit of a critical mass
Mhm.
where some of this stuff can scale. But I'm guessing where I'm going with is just like when you have a company culture like that you've developed, people want to be a part of it and they're really excited. In some ways, there's so much that you don't have to tell them, because if they care, a lot of it, caring solves a lot of problems. And I've never really articulated this before, but I'm just thinking about it now. We were talking about our both of our parents, or even like when I was saying like some of the basic principles that you do just as being a good human to apply it to being business. But like if you just care, like if your client, whoever your client is, can see that you care,
Yep.
like honestly, that's the majority of the issues will probably get resolved. So like how do you create an environment where people care?
Yeah. I think that just like reminding them who is at the end of every delivery all the time. Like I said, we sell on the perfect delivery, like that we're
What does that
actually,
mean?
so it means that it is on time, it's in full, it's everything that you asked for, that we ask the questions about where you want the delivery on the job site. We did all of the work
That's
kind
a
of,
novel concept, by the way.
I know,
Does
right?
it get dumped in front of the driveway and you can't get into
Oh
the
my
house?
gosh, or it blocks your dumpster, or like the homeowner opens their
Oh,
garage door and can't back around the pile of lumber. It's incredible. But yeah, so it's where you want it, it's when you want it, and it's safe. It is friendly. Like we actually try and make contact with people on job sites, not at 7 in the morning. We're not going to go ding the bell on your homeowner, but within reason, we're trying to actually, the amount of times that a truck just like pulls into my driveway and sets something down, and not ours, but like from other companies. And you're like, I didn't order a fridge, but thank you. So we just try and go the extra mile. And when we talk about the perfect delivery, it's a concept that my whole team has rallied around, but it's not the perfect delivery for the perfect delivery's sake. Us doing a good job could be the difference between our builder's kid getting to play sports this season or not. There's a family at the end of this. There's livelihood. If we set them up for success and they have a good year, maybe they can hire somebody else. Maybe like their reputation grows in the market, and just like always bringing it back to that sort of human element. And we hire good people that care, and they care about people. They might not like, it's hard to care about something abstract like pulling the lumber load correctly, but it's easy to care about people when you are a good person. And I think just like constantly closing that loop and circling back and saying like, hey, there are people at the end of these big yellow trucks that are coming out to your job sites, I think keeps everybody sort of aligned.
I think something that speaks to me, like obviously I would like to be on the receiving side of kindness, meaning
Mm,
as a human being, as a business owner, as a person. But something that also means a lot to me, I guess, and just comes to mind is like children. If you see someone being kind to your children, you instantly like that person.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the opposite is true. If you see someone sort of like throwing shade on your kids, you're like, you kind of want to go mama bear on them, or in
Right.
my case, daddy bear. Right.
Yeah.
I took my daughter out skiing out in Montana for the first time. She's 8.5, almost 9. And I ski very aggressively, and I've never thought much of it in 43 years. And then I'm skiing with my little 9-year-old and 2 other little girls behind me. And I'm kind of doing the daddy daycare instructor thing. And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden these snowboarders are ripping by. And the self-righteousness in me was just,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to absolutely level anyone within like 100 yards of
Yep.
me. And I was like, wait a minute. It dawned on me, is like, that's you idiot. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was you before you had children. Like, so before you cast a stone, look in the mirror. Where I'm going with this is just the power of kindness and seeing it, and how, like, obviously my people, my project manager, my controller, we're a small team. When I see a client treat them very kindly, or I got a really nice email the other day from one of my designers just complimenting someone on our team, and I read that letter. I actually sent it to everyone on our team. You need to hear this. This is amazing. And I called that designer. I said, thank you very much. Like, it's easy to hear a compliment, or to write a compliment and to say it. It takes a lot of effort. I want to applaud that. We need more of that, because regardless of how stoic someone is or isn't, it needs to be said, and it's very well received when it is. And so I think you and I as owners, like, obviously when we see our people being treated well by either our clients or their peers or even people in the industry, there's something in us that how could we not feel good about it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and kindness creates more kindness too, right? Like when you're treated well, like you're more willing to go out and create more good. And we just focus on that as well, where it's leave it better than you found it, make the world a better place. What are we spending 40 to 60 hours a week on my salesman side? I'm trying to keep everybody work life balanced a little bit closer than that. But what are we spending all this time doing if it's not for something a little bit bigger than just making money, right? Like we are trying to make our communities better, our communities stronger. We're trying to make the industry better. We're trying to set a new standard for how people feel like they should be treated, what their expectations are, that sort of thing. And so tying it into something a little bit bigger, I think, again, keeps everybody bought in. And yeah, and then creates more good. Like even if it doesn't directly reflect back on us or come from us, if somebody sees my guys doing something good and then they go out and do the same thing, like it's a good day.
Right. No,
Yeah.
that is amazing. What would you say, if you were to isolate, what drives you?
Ooh, relentless perfectionism. No, I don't know. How deep do you want to go? Is this
Yeah,
therapy?
this is therapy. I mean, I don't have a couch you can lay down in, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, I am a deeply philanthropic and charitable person. You've probably heard that in my answers so far. Like I went to school. I was a political economics major with like French also on the side, because why not? And I thought maybe I would work for the State Department or go start a nonprofit in Africa and just save the world, right? Like that's sort of was the game plan going through college, and then found out I had a knack for business. And I really think that, again, like small business is like the greatest, maybe the greatest, maybe the second greatest engine for good in American society that exists. Like we employ more people. Statistically, we give a much higher percentage of our profits back to the community, to charity, all of that kind of stuff. We keep more dollars in the community. And so I'm super driven, at least at Dakota County Lumber, by the idea of like, hey, if we do a good job, our builders can do a good job. They can sort of participate in this, like, hey, supporting the community, creating more good, putting more good out there, and more good comes back. So I would say that definitely drives me. I also have a pretty deep Christian faith. And so just the idea of like, we're not here for ourselves is definitely overarching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you can see it and feel it. It's funny because last year because we'd had Mark Osterman from the Joy Collaborative,
Yeah,
and
he's
you had
great.
helped support Mark's mission, which is to help children. I think there's 66,000 kids with life-limiting disabilities in the state of Minnesota alone.
It's crazy.
And it was really getting goosebumps just talking about it. We have one coming up here pretty shortly, actually. And it is, how do you help people that need help? And I'm always amazed at how many people step up. Thinking of our painters, our cabinet shop, other people in the community. I think when it becomes real, especially community driven, I love seeing communities come together. And I think you could say our building community, not only locally, but across the country, podcasts like this, telling stories, it's all part of this sort of the same message, which is binding people together, sharing stories to essentially lift each other up and let people know they're not alone. Like owning a business can be very lonely.
Yeah.
like, for instance, I know that a lot of lumber yards, I think, are in buyers groups and builders. We talk a lot about builder 20s or contractor coalitions, or like we have the Curious Builder collectives here locally and in a few other states. But how do you as a business owner collaborate with other business owners? Do you have are you part of a buyers group? And is that also part of like peer to peer, think tank, if you will?
Yeah. So we have a few things that we do because, yeah, like I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I think that we're doing some new and different things, but like leaning on the great ideas of people that are doing the same things that we're doing, it's like it's pressing the easy button, like to be able to do it. So we're in a buying group called LMC, which is it's actually, I think, the second biggest buying block in the country behind Builders First Source, I believe. Don't fact check me, but so we're able to buy collaboratively, and they do roundtables and education and that sort of thing. Also, like the local lumber dealers associations have roundtable groups. So right when I started running the yard in 2012, I was thrust forward, and my dad really stepped back pretty quickly, which was actually kind of genius in the way that it worked out. But I was sort of left to figure things out. I mean, he was a safety net. I was able to ask questions and that sort of thing. But I immediately started seeking out other people that knew what they were doing and asking lots of questions. I was just the chief question asker for a long time. Even the dumb ones, there are dumb questions to me, but I will always be the one that asks them anyway, because why not? So I joined a roundtable group of local non-competing yards, so spread out over kind of the Minnesota region. And we've been with that group for 12 years at this point. We've now grown to the point where we're like the second biggest in the group, but the biggest sort of metro yard in the group. And so then a few years ago, I hopped in with another group that was facilitated by the same person, of dealers on the East Coast. So I would have some people to chase.
Yeah.
Like it's somebody that had gone from 30 million to 100 million in revenue, and what that looked like, and be able to ask those questions of somebody outside my market. And it's so helpful. Like it's the people that you meet, the friendships that you gain are second to none. Having people that understand your business in a really nuanced way is just incredible. And then I have people around the country that I can bounce ideas off of, or say, hey, we're going to try this. And has anybody ever done this? And sometimes it's like, no, go get them, kid. Like, let us know how it works for you. And sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, we tried that a couple of years ago. This is what we would do differently if we tried it again. So it's super helpful. And, that I know you guys talk about like collaboration over competition all the time. And it really is true. Like, there is so much business out there to be had, that I think that if you sit there trying to like hang on to all your ideas, and like, I have the best ideas and I don't want to share them with anybody and that sort of thing, like it just doesn't. You can sit there and live in a scarcity mentality, or you can understand that, like, hey, there's a great big world out there and we can all get better together. And that's definitely where we fall.
I mean, I love that. I mean, I think it's really empowering to hear that. I wonder how long have the groups been getting together? Because I'd like to think it's more of a recent thing, but I don't think it is. I think it's been
No.
around for a long time.
Yeah, there have been roundtables in the lumber industry for a long time. And to the point where it's like we have to sign like, antitrust agreements when
Right.
we
Yep.
get together, because, way back in the day, they would get in trouble for
Right.
collusion and price fixing and that sort of thing. It's like, no, we will not talk about pricing.
We have to kick out the Rockefellers and the Carnegies
Yes,
again.
yes.
They own all the railroads.
Yes.
This episode is brought to you by Adaptive. For over 2 years now, I've been using Adaptive. It's an incredible game changer. It's AI technology based. It helps you with bill pay. And as a builder, there's very few things that anger our subs more than not being paid on time. Well, those days are gone. Not only do you know exactly where you are, but you can pay people through your ACH channels, making draws extremely quick. With one click of a button, which used to take hours, my office staff is now able to generate a draw to the bank or to the client in literally seconds. The thing that I appreciate the most about Adaptive is their ability to keep changing. We've given them 3 or 4 feedbacks on things that we need as builders, and within just a few months, they're rolling those things out. This is saving us hours per week and days per month in terms of our efficiency. If you're looking to upgrade your business, I'd highly recommend Adaptive. You can reach out to them at adaptive.com or listen to the Curious Builder podcast, episode 15 or episode 80, where we dive into their origin story. going back to your childhood, your political aspirations and maybe
Mhm.
some of just idealism to try to change the world. And obviously, we can do that in a number of different ways, and you're
Mhm.
continuing to do that. But at what point did you realize you wanted to be involved in the family business? And
Yeah.
walk us through, because I think that we've had a ton of husband and wife teams on, we've had father and son teams on, we've had I feel like building in particular, I don't know the actual, again, don't fact check this,
Okay.
but I feel like there's a high degree of family run businesses that are multi-generational
Mhm.
within the construction industry. And so your answer, obviously, I have a young daughter, and I've
Mhm.
often used to say, like, I never want, like, when I have so many hobbies, like when I hit 60, like I'm done, like
Mhm.
I want to go do it. But now I'm actually sort of like, you find different things that sort of inspire you and encourage you. And I'm kind of like, and who knows what my daughter May will want to do, but she would be a rock star owner. And so it kind of has me excited, like, okay, I'm not going to say never anymore. Because if she wanted to be a part of it, like, honestly, that would be really fun.
Yeah.
At what point did you know? And at what point did your dad know? Was your mom involved too, or was it just your dad?
She stayed home with us.
Okay.
So, I mean, definitely played a huge supporting role, as
Yes.
anybody with a spouse
Yeah.
understands. But no, he was the active operating partner.
Walk us through that relationship, the early years when it sort of dawned on you, and maybe some of his perspective. I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah. So I never thought that I would be in this business. Like growing up, it didn't even cross my mind that I would run the lumberyard. And I don't know if it did. I have an older brother, and I think we thought maybe he would do it, but yeah, my dad never put pressure on us. Like he was an entrepreneur. He started from scratch. He built his business, and he always said, "Oh, if the kids don't want it, I'll sell." That was his plan. We grew up. We played sports. We did school. I was a big hockey player, went really into school, went my own path, was excited to go to college and then go save the world afterwards, and was in college during the Great Recession, which like I think it started for the building industry late 2005 even, but I was in college '05 to '09 and really hit in '08 '09 and came out of college still never thinking that I would be involved in the family business. Well, my dad was back to work, tightening the belt, doing all the things that you do to make sure that your business survives during that sort of time. And we watched a lot of competitors fall out of the market during that time. To my parents' credit, they didn't lay off a single person. They poured their retirement back.
Wow.
Yeah, they poured their retirement back into the company. Their whole goal was just to keep the doors open. And it wasn't for them and it wasn't for us because like the kids, we didn't think we were going to be involved. I moved to Charleston, South Carolina after college, and I ran a professional organizing business for a while. I just looked around and was like, oh, these people down here have a lot of money. Like, what can I do? I can organize just I'm going to figure this out. So I organized people's closets and offices and all that kind of stuff. And it was when I was doing that that I all of a sudden became interested in the family business. So I was running my own business and realized that like, yeah, I like
Was that a franchise or something you did on your
no,
own?
I did it on my
Okay.
own. Yeah, just, had an idea and was like, just gonna scrap and figure out
Because
how to
I
do
was thinking we
this.
had Lauren Oslop on from the Neat Method. Was it
Yeah.
something akin to that?
Yes, very
Yeah.
similar. Yep, I know. And all the like the home edit now has their Netflix show and stuff. I'm like, I was doing that. Like they just are better at marketing it anyway. But I was having some success but I realized that the thing that I enjoyed was looking at the financials and deciding when to hire and how am I going to market. And my dad had always said growing up, like, Sonny, like business is business. Really doesn't matter what you're doing. And I think now that I'm into it, like I would argue that like our business is the best business, the building industry is the best. But yeah, I just all of a sudden having my own experience that finally clicked for me. I was thinking this, oh, maybe I would actually want to be involved in the family business. But we're a good Scandinavian family. So we won't talk about our feelings. The
That's funny.
Minnesotans listening will
That's
understand.
that's funny.
And I guess my dad had been thinking like, oh, I don't want to put pressure on Sunny, but she would be really good at this. And I think we both had like expressed this to my mom
And you're
and
probably what, 23, 22
yeah,
at this
yeah,
time
20,
roughly?
23, 24, right in there. And we'd both expressed it to my mom. And she finally, like, when I was back for a visit, she was like, put us in the car going up to the cabin together and was like, you're two need to talk. It was a very quiet car ride for the first little bit. Cause no, I don't want to be entitled. I'm not entitled to the family business for you to turn it over. But I've been thinking that what you do actually doesn't sound that bad anymore.
What was your dad's reaction when you said
I
that?
think internally it was like, oh, thank God. Like, I don't have to work until I'm 70 anymore. Cause his plan was always like retire by 50 sort of thing. And then the recession hit. A plan was born for me to learn what he
From
was
that car ride?
from that car ride. right there.
Oh, that's
Decision
awesome.
made. Yeah.
I'm sorry, how long was the car ride?
It takes about 3.5 hours,
Okay.
cabins in Grand Rapids.
All
So
right.
yeah, it was, yeah, we figured it out. And I was originally just going to learn what he did, the kind of like really high level, like the banking, whatever, because I still wasn't sure I wanted to get my hands dirty. You know what I mean? And then I got into doing some of that and started learning and asking questions and realized like, oh, well, this general manager maybe isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and we probably need to replace this person. So then he went, or I let my dad exit him, and I was like, I can't hire for a general manager until I understand what he's doing, so I'm going to do the job for a little bit. And I didn't give the general manager's job up for about 10 years. So I decided I really liked it.
And I would imagine that was that was your boot camp training,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
understanding everything about it as the GM.
Yes. Yeah. And so while we were doing that, like my dad was still coming into the office for a few months, and I was noticing there were some things that I wasn't getting read in on, not because anybody was intending to keep me out of it, but just because it's a small business and there are patterns, and like it's more efficient just to go talk to my dad. And so I mentioned that to my dad at one point. I was like, hey, I'm not learning about like the fleet. And a huge portion of what we do is we deliver materials, like it's trucks. Did not think that I would be a fleet owner growing up. And I told him like, well, I'm not learning this or I'm not learning that. And finally, and he like looked at me and he's like, okay, so I'm going to pack up my desk. Like I grew up about a block away from the yard. He's like, I'll be over at the farm if you need me. And you just come over on your lunch break and ask me all your questions, and they will have to loop you in because they won't be able to find me.
That's amazing, dude. Your dad sounds like a baller. I love it.
He's
I love
awesome.
how he mic dropped that. He's
Oh
like,
yeah, like just
did he have a little like 12 by 12 cardboard box that you see like in the movies? Or like,
walking
I'll
out.
pack it out.
Yeah,
I'm walking it out.
yeah,
Like, security, can you please? What was your dad's
yes,
name?
Steve.
Please walk Steve out to
Yeah,
the front door.
please escort Steve out. Yeah, we're not that high tech, but yeah, no, it was pretty funny. And like for a founder, there's just no ego there. Like all he cared about was the future of the business and me learning. Like he had full confidence in my ability to figure it out. And so he just let me figure it out and was a great safety net. I would go over there sometimes 2.5 hour lunches and just, I was thinking this and what about this, and ask all of my questions. But then I was able to go back to the yard and give people the answer that it came from me. It wasn't like, oh, I need to go check with my dad. It was like, oh, I need to go figure out how to think about this. And it just got me up to speed so quickly.
I mean, before you had a coach, he was the coach.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How often do you, he's completely exited the company now?
Yep. Yeah. When I bought the rest of the family out in late 2018, he retired.
How often do you reflect together about that stuff?
Oh, all the time. My mom gives us on holidays, my mom gives us like a 10-minute time limit where she's like, this is like, it's Christmas. I'm like, okay. But they live very close. And so we see each other a lot. We're a big skiing family. So we go out and ski with them. They have a place in Colorado and get to spend some time together and that sort of thing. But we do have to tone it down sometime because he still loves it. And
right. One is his DNA for
yeah,
however many decades.
Yes, absolutely. I guess one thing about my story that I do kind of want to call out just from like the women in construction perspective is, and I've talked about this on other shows and that sort of thing, but the fact that I didn't see myself, like I grew up watching my dad build this business, seeing the incredible opportunity that it afforded our family. I mean, like he paid for my college, right? Like completely. I didn't have to take out loans. And like that was because he built a business. He started with $2,500 and he built this incredible business. Like I saw that was possible. And I didn't think it was for me. And I think that as I reflect on it, I think that is because there wasn't anybody that looked like me in the business. So I kind of thought it was like, oh, maybe my brother will do it. It's for boys. Like I thought, like I saw like the lumberyard. A lumberyard isn't glamorous, right? The office, we've zhuzhed it up a little bit. It's gravel and like bunks of lumber and big trucks and all of that kind of stuff. And I didn't see anybody that was an example of what I could be. Yeah, my dad, but even because my dad doesn't look like me, like I couldn't picture myself there. And that's why I'm a little bit passionate about, I don't want anybody to buy from us because we're a woman-owned business. I want you to buy from us because we're the best in the market at what we do. Like we're the best. You should buy from us based on our merit. But I do want to highlight the fact that we have wonderful women that work for us so that more girls like your daughter can maybe picture themselves doing this one day. Because I think there's part of it is like, oh, maybe we're not accelerating women or promoting them at the same rate or that kind of thing. I don't think that happens too much on the residential side of the industry. I think we're very open to like women and men can do whatever jobs they want, but it's sort of a supply issue, right? Like the girls don't even come to us wanting a job because they can't picture it. Since I have been in the business and have been a little bit more forward with promoting myself, we've had the amount of female applicants that we've had has skyrocketed. And so we're at about 30% female now, which is pretty good. We're about parity in the office. And then it takes a special woman who wants to go out and work in the yard. And we've had a few and they've done really well. But yeah, so we're making progress. But I think that getting more women in the industry really is going to require elevating those stories.
Yeah, I love the fact, I've just said it many times on the podcast. I didn't actually realize I was doing it. I look back, I think we've had the podcast now for about 2.5 years. And I was looking back, I think we're at like episode 112 or whatever we're at. And looking back, I should actually count now, but I felt like I kept interviewing designers and architects. And I looked and I was like, man, it's like 40 to 50% of who I've interviewed are women. And I guess I'm always gravitate towards an interesting story and interesting people. And my mom being an interior designer and my dad being a builder. And I was a kid, you're a kid, you don't even think about those things, right? I mean, but to your point, you have role models, you have ambassadors, you are an ambassador to people, to our field. But not only that, but to all the daughters out there, every dad who has a daughter and anyone who wants to just empower other people, and lots of opportunity. And I feel like our community is super open. Maybe I'm really biased because I love our community, but I just feel like we have a very supportive, from leadership at Housing First to what I see from other builders. And in fact, I noticed that the other day we have this architect collective, and half of the people at the table were women architects.
Yeah.
And I was like, there was this little moment where it came across my brain. I was like, this is really cool.
That's awesome.
I'm in a fairly male dominated industry. And to your point, there needs to be talent, there needs to be the merit. But I think people do gravitate towards, hey, we want to see a change. And everyone has different motivations. Maybe I see my daughter, maybe I just see someone I want to spend more time with. And it's just, or just interesting people. I think everyone has different motivations. We're just here to have a microphone and share stories and try to do the best we can to elevate everyone. To your point earlier, collaboration over competition, because there is I think the way forward, especially as, 10,000 baby boomers are retiring daily, how we act as a community has to be together. And there's a place for everybody. And I feel like we have a building as a very inclusive field. In fact, I just read before you came on, there was a young framer that was here, and there's this narrative that keeps being pushed. And I'm sure the numbers back it up, that, like I've said it a number of times, there's 6 or 7 HVAC masters are retiring and one are taking their place. I don't doubt those stats. Like, I believe those stats to be true. But there's this narrative that there are no young people. There are so many young people.
They're all coming to me.
I see them like this, these young framers. I look around at my team, and I'm not saying there's not a few that are long in the tooth, but man, there's an energy among the youth. I think they see an opportunity to own their own business. And that's a narrative, certainly on this podcast, that I want to share and promote, because to your point, owning a business is a foundational, I think, tenet of how the United States has really done what it's done. And I don't want to lose that. And whatever we can do to promote that, I think it is great for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Business owning and home ownership are just like building blocks of the American dream. And there's a lot that can be done. I do think we are seeing young people coming into the industry, at least with us. And I think maybe they don't want to come into a business that's just set and forget and running the same way that it ran 40 years ago. Like, if your business isn't growing and evolving and you're not changing the way that you do things to sort of adopt and modernize and keep up with the times, like, yeah, maybe young people aren't going to come your direction. But I think that there is youthful energy and ambition and fire that is coming into the industry. And it's our job to figure out how to capture it, and also to adapt to new expectations for workers, employees, work-life balance, all of that kind of stuff. Like, we can We can do this. We can evolve.
I like that. Adapt. I think that's a powerful thing. As we kind of exit here the
Mhm.
interview, what you mentioned, just because I love book reading and hearing what people are reading, it sounds like part of your EOS, everyone in your entire company is reading on a regular basis. Do
Yeah.
you guys have quarterly books that you're reading? Is it just leadership team?
Yeah.
And maybe that question, and what book are you currently reading?
Oh, okay. So our leadership cohort reads something different every month. They've done, Radical Candor, they've read Traction, they've done The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey, which is great for delegation. Like
What? Wait a
it's
minute. What was that one called?
oh my gosh, it's such a good book.
I need that
It's
one.
The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. And you will, once you read this book, it's a parable by Ken Blanchard. It's an older book, but it still fits, and you will not look at the tasks that you need to delegate the same way again, because he tells you to like picture them as though they're like monkeys jumping all over your office, and like
So it's
it's
the visual.
it's
I'm already picturing it right now. A bunch
yes,
of little monkeys jumping
yes,
around.
like go give somebody else your monkey, but you need to give it, like, there's rules, like you have to have monkey like feeding and checkup appointments to make sure that your monkey's being taken care of, but you don't
It's
take the
like
monkey
sugar
back.
babies. Like, this is so
Yes,
funny. This is
yes.
amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll get the book.
So yeah, that's a great book. I'll send you a copy. We've got some in the
All
office.
right.
Extreme ownership. Like there's a whole bunch of them that are in our leadership library. What I'm reading a couple right now to prep for future cohort discussions, but the one that I'm listening to on Audible, I don't know. This is not a promotion of this book, but there's parts of it. There are parts of it that I really like. It's called Relentless by Tim
It's
Grover. You
amazing.
read
I
it?
just finished it a couple months ago. It
Yeah.
was intense. I
It's
loved it.
Yes, it's so intense. And it's right now when we're recording, it's spraying in the building industry, spraying in the lumber industry. I mean, I got competitors breathing down my back, calling my customers all the time. It's fun, right? We're in the fun times, and there's tariffs and there's all the things. So having Tim Grover like telling me that I'm a cleaner, like he has this whole metaphor of cleaners and closers and whatever. I played sports growing up, and so he was what Michael Jordan's
He was
shooting
Michael Jordan's,
coach.
yeah. And so, I mean,
Yeah,
for those that haven't
or
listened
strength
to it, I mean,
coach.
it's been a little while, but yeah, I mean, he was Michael Jordan's only coach for a while, and I
Yeah.
think his only client. I think wasn't there a line in the book that I think he commented like, "Why do you pay me so much?" He goes, "I don't pay you because you're so good. I pay you because I'm the only one who wants you to be my coach." Like that, he
Yeah.
felt like he was his special power, if you will.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
wanted them all to himself.
Yeah. And he went on to coach Kobe and Dwayne Wade and these greats. And he talks about what makes the greats different. And so it's intense. Like you said, it's a next level, like the whole chapter about the dark side and whatever. Like, I'm like, oh, sounds a little unhealthy. Maybe we should do some therapy. But like these guys that have that extra gear, like,
To me, it was all about mindset.
yes.
I was mentioning the other day I was running hills with a friend of mine, and I think everyone's relentless or extreme ownership or their competitive nature. At the end of the day, we're all racing against ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Let's be honest about that. And there's 1,000 people that are, a million people that are faster. That's not really the point. But if you can be on this hill training alone, in the middle of the dark, like whatever it takes for you to run up that hill
Yep.
is the thing that you need.
Yep.
And if you have to create these artificial monkeys jumping on your desk or whatever the mental game you have to play to get yourself to do that,
Mhm.
I think it's great. I'm all for it.
Mhm.
And push yourself. And we were commenting, I had a friend of mine who just turned 40. I'm 44. And he had just mentioned, he's like, "Oh man, I'm 40." And I was like, "Dude, 44 is awesome."
Mhm.
I said, my 4-year-old self could kick my any 30-year-old's absolute booty
Yeah.
because of mindset. And I think that's really cool. Whatever, it's not about age. I think that's the thing.
Mhm.
And when you realize it, anyway, books like that are just really empowering.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so fun to just, it's like get you fired up, and you're like, you identify with parts of it, and that sort of thing. And it just, like I said, spring in the building industry is always a little bit chaotic, and it's nice
Everyone's
to have
scrambling
that.
for a first couple contracts. I mean, as
Oh
builders, it's like
man.
someone just called me the other day and said, "Hey, you a recommendation from someone that was on your podcast,
Mhm.
actually." And they said, "We'd love you to remodel our house. We're flying into town." And then I sent him a design routine. And they're like, "Oh, we're not sure about that. We're actually interviewing 5 other people." I'm just like, okay. I was like, "That's
Thanks for the
fine."
warm
I said,
lead.
"Let me know."
Yeah.
But I said, "We don't do work for free."
Right.
But I said, we do a great job for you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it."
Yeah.
And so I don't know. That was yesterday. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Oh, you gotta, I mean, that's, I guess, takeaway for the listeners, and they probably don't know this, but like you gotta stand on who you are. And like, especially when the environment gets competitive, yeah, they can try. Like we know that we do a great job. We know that we offer this level of service. We know that we're priced where we're priced. And like, that's fine. People can come, people can call, you can be bidding against 5 other guys 5 other companies, and you
I
just
mean,
got to be
we
confident
we
in what you
usually
do.
we usually don't do that. To us, it's hard when you take away the relationship aspect.
Yeah.
It's kind of the main thing.
Yeah, it is.
And so, every business owner has been in the place where you are bidding on something. You're like, well, okay, I get it. I got a bid on it. And so anyway, the relationship isn't going to be, if it's not their key thing, you're taking away my number one asset.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean I still can't compete.
But if the customer, I think, isn't as invested in the relationship as you are, they probably weren't your kind of customer anyway.
100%.
And again, abundance mentality. Like there are going to be more people out there that are the perfect project fit for you. There are going to be more builders out there that are going to appreciate the relationship, and like everybody gets a little shiny object syndrome every now and then when somebody dangles a low price in front of them, but you just got to be confident.
Yeah. I appreciate your time for coming on the podcast. We'll have everything in the show notes. If anyone wants to reach out to Sunny with a U, not an O.
Yeah, with a U, and no share.
And no Sunny and share jokes, please, or you will be excommunicated.
Yes.
Thanks again for coming on.
Too nice for that.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Every Monday we have 1-hour episodes with business owners across the country, and every Thursday we have Q&As. Thanks for tuning in to the Curious Builder Podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the Curious Builder Podcast. If you like this episode, do us a favor. Share it with 3 other business owners. The best way that we can spread what we're doing is by word of mouth, and with your help, we can continue to help other curious builders expand their business. Please share it with your friends, like and review online, and thanks again for tuning in.